I saw this story about global shipping, and I
Yeah.
wondered, the first thing I wondered is, I bet the United States opted out of this thing. Is that what happened?
Yeah, of course
Oh, of
they did.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, of course they did. And but here's the thing. So what's really exciting about this? I'll get to the US part in a minute because it's a little,
Okay.
it's like temper tantrumy dumb stuff. But I'll
Yeah.
get to it. So the reason why this is huge is this is the first global industry that has said, okay, we're committed to lowering our carbon emissions. It took 10 years of negotiating. I mean, it was, hard fought. And here's the thing. So shipping is only responsible for 3% of overall emissions, but we have to understand that 90% of goods that are shipped around the world go on these cargo ships, and they're burning the dirtiest fuel. It's diesel. And the fact that we've actually had an agreement, and there's another maritime, because this is the International Maritime Organization, which is a branch of the UN,
Mhm.
and we already had another, uh, regulatory body of international shipping lower the sulfur pollution that they're allowed to have in their diesel fuel. So that's already happened. So I'm like, yeah, right on, right on. So it's big because it's this agreement. It is watered down, of course, and this is the part that's hard. The change happens incrementally, but the fact that a whole international industry has done it. So it was going to be lowering emissions 20% by 2030. It's now down to lowering them 8% by 2030. They
Okay.
weren't able to impose a tax on carbon. So if you did pollute with carbon dioxide oxide emissions, that would have actually garnered $60 billion worth of revenue a year. But instead, what it's going to be, it takes effect in 2027. It's going to be for every ton of CO2 emissions you put up, you have to pay $380. And of course, for the really hardcore advocates and for small island nations that are really dealing with sea level rise, they're really disappointed. And what usually happens, this is just to show you sort of the back and forth that goes on. So ordinarily with a UN body, you rule by consensus. But of course, you had Saudi Arabia saying, no, 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 an oil producing nation. We have to have a vote on this. And they were backed up by Russia. But there was still, still 100 of the, I think it's 800, 187 nations that are part of the organization said, no, 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 we have to impose this. And so, it's good. It's really, really a good thing because it has happened. And the US. So our delegation backed out because the monies that are raised are going to go towards creating greener fuels for shipping. And
Mhm.
also, oh, excuse me.
Hi.
I
It's
thought I'd turned that off. I was really like, oh, I
it's
have, but yeah, okay. Naughty, naughty,
that's all right.
naughty husband. Um, but but the and then so go towards creating these greener fuels, and then also go to developing countries that need money to help prepare for global climate change.
Mhm.
And it was these distributions that the US were like, no, 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 we don't want to, we don't want to be part of that. I mean, helping someone else, no. So Trump's delegation backed out. But here's the thing: the US they only represent 0.57% of the international cargo shipping tonnage. We have 178 cargo ships, so it's nothing in comparison to the traffic that's coming from Asia to the rest of the world. It's a tiny fraction. So okay, we made a stand, and we the big gorilla in the room, we sort of flexed our muscles, and but it doesn't really mean that much. And it's still passed. It's passed, in spite of, Saudi Arabia, Russia, and the US.
I hate it when we have something good for the environment, and it seems like, when the United States, we're supposed to be the good guys, we could sign on to help the world, and we
Yeah.
just check out. So there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a bummer. It's a bummer. But this move kind of dovetails quite nicely, and
Mhm.
actually inadvertently, Trump is going to be doing something good for the environment as far as
Oh.
shipping goes. So yeah. So
What?
uh, with shipping is in spite of ships being 90% of how goods 90% of goods get shipped around by ships,
Mhm,
we have another 10% being shipped around on airplanes, and airplanes are 60 times more carbon intensive as far as emissions go than ships. And here's the thing about this. So it's the tariffs, and I'll get to them in a minute. But
mhm,
planes, if you remember in the olden days, they were only used to freight things that were perishable. So blueberries and oysters. But now everyone, we have Amazon invented overnight shipping, and
mhm.
the pandemic turned us all into these crazy online shoppers, and we're really really into this instant gratification, and it's
Yep.
terrible for the planet because we've got all this stuff coming, we want to get it within days or the next
Mhm.
day, and how's it being shipped? It's coming on planes and then on trucks, to our homes. And I don't know if you remember during COVID, I mean, people said there were so many Amazon delivery vehicles in the street you could barely park.
Right.
um, so Trump, as part of the tariffs, he wants to get rid of, it's called the de minimis loophole. And what it means is that small packages coming into the US, if they're worth less than $800, they don't have to pay any tariffs. They sort of get streamlined in, and it meant that e-commerce has gone absolutely bonkers, and the emissions from air freight in the last 5 years have gone up 25%. I mean,
Mhm.
there are a billion packages that came into the US last year. That's 8 per household. I mean, we really are doing this online shopping. And of course, where's it coming from?
Mhm.
A ton of it is coming from China. Uh, and what's going to happen is, these tariffs they're no, small thing. And I just want to point out that Joe Biden and also other elected officials have been saying we have to stop this, all this barrage of packaging, because it's also how fentanyl and other things are getting into the US so easily, and we can't make it so easy for this stuff. But I don't know if listeners remember. I sent a copy of the ad over to Albert. It's slightly grainy. So Temu, who's one of these, they're a big fast fashion. They're out of
Yeah.
China. During the Super Bowl, they ran a commercial saying, shop like a billionaire, and there's someone using their app, and everything's $9.99. So for $100, you can get 10 new things. And their app was the most downloaded on Apple's app site in 2023 and 2024. I mean, people are going nuts for
Yeah.
being able to get all this cheap stuff, and it goes beyond clothes. But now Trump is really going to come down hard on it, because he's talking about up to $200 a package, 120% on goods. So yeah, this was the.
I
I mean,
can't play. I'm not gonna play a Super Bowl ad. We might get
Yeah.
demonetized.
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Oopsie, I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was during the Super Bowl, and it was telling everyone to shop like crazy. But what's happened is, in February, when Trump first talked about it, Shein, who's one of these organizations, their sales plummeted in 3 days by 41%,
Wow.
when, they were like, what, because people don't want to pay tariffs on their goods. They want to get, their cheap stuff. Yeah, there it is, shop like a
Mhm.
billionaire. So Shein and Temu, and there's also Alibaba.com and TikTok. I mean, they've become these, platforms that are making so much money, but they've now been shamed. And then also because of the tariffs, they're saying we've got warehouses, distribution warehouses on the ground in the US, and we're going to be putting stuff on ships. It's not all going to be coming in planes. We're going to be doing that, but inadvertently, because that this wasn't what Trump was after. He wasn't putting, for putting it on ships, but the cost of the tariffs, how steep they're going to be. And just also for comparison, so the EU they have tariffs on packages that are worth 150 euros or more. Argentina, 400 dollars or more, and we were just letting all these cheap things just
Yeah.
pour into the country, and it's not good for the planet, and I would argue that it's sort of not good for us that we've become so
No.
addicted to this, these cheap goods and this instant gratification. And that said, of course, these tariffs and the extra, they're saying the cost of the tariffs that will be passed on to the consumer could be between 11 and 13 billion dollars, and of course that gets felt most by low income households, and obviously I don't want that to happen. But if we can give the planet a break with all this, um, one of the things I was reading, they say between Temu and Shein, they have 108 Boeing 777 cargo planes in the air every day,
Wow.
whizzing their stuff around the world. I mean, that's
Mhm.
just, it's crazy. It's crazy.
This Temu, I don't know if you're online on Facebook or what have you, but it seems like you can't do anything without a Temu ad popping up.
Mm.
I
Oh,
forget what they call these retailers like Shein and Temu, like the throwaway retailers where you just buy stuff that you don't need. Oh, look at
mm.
all that. Wow, look at all that little boxes, plain boxes flying toward us. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Well, it's sort of taken consumerism to this ridiculous level. And of
mm,
course, if you get it that cheaply, the throwaway factor, and we've talked before about
yes.
the fashion industry and how hard that is on the planet,
Mhm.
it's not just the shipping of it, but it's the manufacturing of it, it's the
Mm,
dyeing, it's all the chemicals that go into it. And there used to be 4 seasons for fashion. You'd have your
yeah.
spring, your fall, your summer, your winter collections, and then suddenly they went to 8 collections a year. That
Mhm.
you had to. It's kind of bonkers. So this isn't what Trump is wanting to do. Help the planet, but his
No.
if he can shift these packages onto freight ships, and
Mhm.
if shipping can actually happen on ships rather than planes, and if those ships are then fueled by cleaner fuel sources, that's going to be good.
I can't stand, Belinda, because then we won't get our dress that's 9.99 overnight. What will we do?
What will we do?
I don't
You
know.
might have to go shopping in your own wardrobe, Kim. Think about it.
The horror, I don't know. Yeah, all of this stuff, these cheap things that come here, and
Mm,
the people just don't, they toss them away, they throw them out. It's if you don't need it, don't buy it, right? I
yeah,
mean, do
yeah.
you really need it? This is the question I have. If you do
Well,
you really need that cheap dress? Why?
yeah, there's a part of our brains that really gets stimulated when we buy and get deals. We get
Mhm.
it really excites our brain,
Yeah.
and it's a hit that it's momentary and then it's gone, but it is a real thing. I remember the story once about, it was from a book of an author writing, what has happened to us, and she was talking about being on the street in London, and there was a woman in front of her who'd obviously been on a big shopping spree. She had these, bags and bags. She was like a Christmas tree with bags. They were all
Mhm.
paper. It was raining, and one of the bags got so wet. All the bras and undies she'd just bought, they were falling out of the bag as she was rushing to get, her bus or whatever. And this woman said to her, "Hey, hey, your new bra." Well, they were so cheap. The lady just kept running. She didn't give it. She wanted to get on the bus more than she wanted to pick up her new bra that was now in a puddle on
Wow.
the ground.
That's crazy. I
It's
feel like
crazy.
we need when we shop, and maybe this is preachy, I don't know, but I I think it's important to shop with purpose in mind. Like, where is your stuff coming from, right?
Mm,
And ask yourself if you really need it, because we have become this hyper consumerism society that we just buy and buy and buy, and the stuff we don't need, and we don't think about, as you mentioned, the energy it takes to make something, or where it's coming from and how that could impact the environment, or
mm,
what we're doing with it when we're done with it and where it's going.
Yeah.
Is it something worthy of being donated, or is it a cheap Temu whatnot that's going to end up in the landfill? So
Mm.
buying with purpose, I think, will help the environment.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And we've sort of become slaves to it. I mean, it's crazy that that we shop this much. I mean, there are nicer things to do, go for a walk outside,
Right.
but we're very addicted to and it is about this, this sort of instant gratification. We love to
Yeah.
get a bargain. Um, but yeah, it's like, how much stuff do you need? It was like the thing you were just saying about Coachella and the robberies that happened. You really need to take 8 pairs of sunglasses to
Right.
Coach. Like, really? And the thing about shopping is you have one body. How many outfits can you get on that one body per
Yeah.
day?
Right. Why do you
So
need 12 pairs of sunglasses? Come on.
yeah, you can stack them up on your. Yeah, it's going to look silly.
So this video that you have for us next,
Ah,
fascinating.
yeah, gorgeous.
A couple of days ago, we had this magnitude 5.2
Yeah,
earthquake in the San Diego area,
yeah.
and there's the San Diego Zoo. I think is this where it happened, the San Diego Zoo?
This is the safari park. So there's the San
Okay.
Diego Zoo. So this is the
Mhm.
elephants felt the tremor in their feet, and then they do this thing. It's called bunching, and so they get in this defensive position. They've got their trunks out, their eyes get wider, and what they're doing is the older elephants have surrounded. But if you can see to the left there's one of the calves. That calf is supposed to be in the middle with the other little calf, but that's a little boy. And he was like, I can be with the big guys and I could be facing out like you mamas are. So they're guided by the main matriarch. She's the one who runs over first. And they're on hyper alert. So they're looking, tusks, trunks out, ears open, ears wide. And it's to protect the calves. I mean, it's completely gorgeous. And they take their cues from the matriarch. They listen to what she says.
Mhm.
They did the bunching up again when there was an aftershock, half an hour later or so. They
Wow.
did it again. But it's just so beautiful that it's caught on camera, and you
Yeah.
see these animals, this maternal instinct, these highly
Mhm.
emotional beings. And then you can see she leans over and she sort of taps the young male calf to say, okay, yeah, right on, you're doing a great job, young fella, or whatever she's saying to him.
Amazing to catch this on tape, on camera,
Yeah,
and be able to see this animal behavior that, usually maybe in the wild for other reasons happen in San Diego. It's pretty fascinating
yeah,
to look
yeah.
at
Well,
that.
well, well it's
Yeah.
really amazing because they really feel, often it's how what they're sensing in their feet that then gets them to do the bunching up. If they feel that other animals are stampeding, they go, okay, there's danger. We're going to bunch up. We'll
Mhm.
get our little guys in the middle, and we'll protect them. And yeah, it's sweet and
I must
makes
have
you feel
watched
good.
I think I watched that video like 4 or 5 times in a row, but you can see there's a little tiny one, a
Yeah.
smaller juvenile elephant in the middle. Yeah, love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, the one little calf, she did her
Mm,
job, she got in the middle, but the little
yep,
boy, and he's not that little, he looks like he's a teenager, but he's like,
yeah.
"No, no, no, I could be with the mamas, I could be on the outside and protecting,"
Mhm.
even though, they really meant for him to be in inside the bunch. They wanted to be bunching around the 2 of them, but
I
yeah,
love it.
yeah, it's
Thanks
sweet.
for bringing that to us, Belinda. You are amazing. Thank you for coming on every week and helping us save the planet, my friend.
Oh, it's totally my pleasure. Thank you for
Belinda
having
Weymouth,
me.
everybody. Woohoo! Thank
See ya.
you, Belinda. Bye. See you next week.
Yep,
Hi,
see you
it's
next
Mark,
week.
and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell, you'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.